Since you've been in your career, have you ever felt like your ideas about what you can accomplish or what you can become have been impacted by gender in any way?
I would have to say in my case, I've never felt that.
Never
I've had
felt
other
it.
women bring that comment up and, you know, talk about scenarios where they felt that was an issue. I, knock on wood, haven't. So.
Awesome.
In my experience, I have, and I'll tell you why. Because I started out in software development, which is kind of a mixed ball game when it comes to women and men. But then I moved into infrastructure, and infrastructure is servers and mainframes and keeping them running and upgrading them. They take travel, nighttime work, on call constantly. So we don't see a lot of women there for a long period of time. Sometimes it kind of interrupts, you know, raising children and things like that. So actually, I really did see, nobody else saw that I couldn't do it. I saw that I couldn't do it. When my vice president first encouraged me to apply for a director job that came up, you know, I looked at him and I go, do you think I can do this job? He said, blank yeah, I can do this job. So it's not that I felt, you know, that I was impacted, that I couldn't do it because I was a woman. I just had not seen anybody around me doing it. So then I started to see myself as a trailblazer in infrastructure. And even here, I'm somewhat, you know, one of the few infrastructure people that you see that are women.
Do you think beginning to see yourself as a trailblazer helped increase your confidence in your position?
Oh yeah. And as a matter of fact, I had to have him tell me, yes, you can do this job. And then I said, you're right, you can do this job. So I say that so that everybody else, we need to see ourselves in doing that job, even if you've never seen it done before, especially if you know you have the technical capability. Did I know I had the technical capability? Of course I did. But there was just this block because I had not seen it before.
That's neat.
That's great insight there. What about you, Chandra?
Well, so one of my first roles was in public accounting, and I remember going to a seminar, and there was a lady there, and it was around 1998, and she said to me, you realize that the next 100 years are going to be all about the woman. And I was like taken aback, and she said, you know, all the things that women have never done, they're going to do in this century. And I remember thinking to myself, really, you know, that'll be really interesting to see. And I had my doubts, but I felt like I had some good mentors, and I was not afraid to try because I thought, you know, hey, I have nothing to lose. One of my first director roles, actually, I remember going to my boss after he was interviewing people, you know, person after person, and saying to him, you know, I could do that job, you know. And he said, he kind of looked at me and he said, really? And I said, yeah, I can do this. Let me show you. And he liked my idea, and he took it to the CEO, and that's how I got one of my first promotions, actually.
That's
good.
Great.
And and you know, after that, he seemed like he was always mad at me. And I got my first review, and I was going to tell him, well, you know, thanks for giving me a chance, and I'm sorry it didn't work out. But he said, you know, I really like how you work with people. I really like how you've managed the department. And I thought, you know, a lot of that is just in my head, you know, and that's when I started to realize, you know, if I could just get past some of my own thoughts, that I could actually do much more. And so it just became fun after that, you know, to keep trying.
That's amazing. What about you, Gilda?
Well, when I started, it was dominated by men, and
Absolutely.
I've seen the transition. I've seen it evolve. But initially, when I did start, it was, you know, you had to kind of like stay in your place.
Yeah.
You didn't have anybody trying to support you to do more, and so you always had to fight to make people recognize who you were and what you could accomplish. It's not like that now. Actually, I'm the only female in my position as it is, and so I'm always trying to do a little bit more so that they can see that I am worthy of what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think may have led to that change from women not being so prevalent in the transportation industry to now? Do you think you've noticed something that might be different, or is it just something that's happening as time passes?
I think it's partly as time passes as well as the leadership. So when leadership changed, the thought process has changed. And one thing I can say is that we do have to work a little bit harder.
Yes.
We're always trying to prove, even today, that you're capable and you deserve everything that you, the information that they give back to you. I always say, yeah, well, I did that, I've done that, and I have to speak up for myself. So it's both leadership and time.
What is the most pervasive obstacle you think women experience in the workplace?
I think it's personally myself. What I don't have enough confidence in my ability, and I hold myself back sometimes because I think, well, no, I don't know if I can do that. And then when I look at my peers, I got this beat. So I think I do it more to myself than anything.
Yeah. I do believe that women have to be better, faster, smarter, and they have to do it, consistently, and, really be prepared. And, but it's also, just getting past your own, like you said, your own concerns and your own inner voice, and not having as many trailblazers or as many examples. You have to figure out how to be that for yourself in some cases. And so I think for me, that was always a challenge. But if you have the right ideas and you're willing to, do your part, you can always, get in there and make a difference. And become respected.
Right. All right.
I would say that, and some of it I think comes from the training background that I had. So starting out early on, I was in all areas of the company and the business, no matter where I worked. And so you learn so much about all the pieces. You're not just stuck in one, functional area. And then you kind of get to see what's really going on versus what you hear is going on. And people come to you and they share with you. And so keeping that in mind, I've always looked at myself as a business person who sits at the executive table or at a senior level position. My area of expertise just happens to be HR.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
And that means sometimes you have to push your way into different areas. Just getting yourself out there or telling someone, I'm going to go with you, to this location so I can visit and see some of the challenges or the issues. And I think if you take that approach, it opens a lot of doors for you.
That's good.
What advice would you give someone who's interested in learning how to take that approach, speaking up a little more, saying what they want to be involved in on the job and not feeling intimidated? What advice would you give them?
That, but also knowing what does Gilda and her team do in operations. I could sit down and have that conversation and tell you here's all their responsibilities, but it's because I spend time in those areas trying to interact with people to learn what their world's all about.
So it's really just relationship building, building
Absolutely.
those relationships so that you are comfortable making that move to be able to do more and learn more. So yeah.
And some of that means even, when you get to the senior level, making sure you're spending time with your peers.
Right.
Just, popping in their office and see what's going on, so what's going on in their world at that point in time too. I think makes it beneficial.
Yeah, I was thinking, when you ask the question and Gilda and Chandra's response, and my response is the same thing, just like I shared earlier. It's at first seeing you're able to do the position. And I'm wondering, why do we do that? Why is that our answer?
I think a lot of it has to do with how you were raised and the time that you were in.
Yeah.
In my household, my brothers didn't have to do much. The girls did all the labor, and they got to go out and play ball. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think so too. And also, again, having to see it see the example, and if we don't see the example,
Right.
for me,
Right.
you know, I think, well, let's just keep things the status quo.
Yeah.
Well, that's not my normal personality, but in the workplace,
Yeah.
really trying to align and stay harmonious. So
Right.
that's
Right.
interesting. I'm
Yeah.
learning.
And
I'm
I think,
learning.
to your point, I mean, women are more conflict averse, perhaps, in some cases.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
we want to be, seen as quiet and sweet and kind and all of those qualities. But, we're also very practical and, disciplined and have great ideas and can implement and follow through. And sometimes that means, being tough, and developing sort of, a tough-mindedness about the work, being clear about the goal and how you can accomplish it and what it's going to take to execute. And you can still bring the other together, but trying to resolve that conflict a little bit is something that I think women face.
Yeah, and throughout the time that I've been working in my career, I found that the times when I'm not trying to be meek or hold my voice back or afraid, the biggest changes happen, the biggest breakthroughs happen, the biggest opportunities become presented because you're not trying to hide your personality or fight back. So I really agree with that.
Yeah, that's very
good.
insightful.
Definitely.
Yeah, just to be yourself and kind of follow your intuition a little bit, take a chance.
Yes, definitely.